Yes, everyone, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boy Dave. And today we're doing a post-match debrief after yesterday's disaster class versus Wolves, undone very late on. I'll be honest, I could have done this yesterday plenty of time. I was just too pissed off and upset with the whole thing to really sort of talk rationally about Tottenham. So I had to go and take time, calm down, breathe a little, listen to what other people had to say and stuff like that, and then come back and do the debrief. But as you can see, we're joined by a great panel this afternoon. And we'll start with Dermot. John, how are you, my man?
I'm all right. Thanks for having me on again, Dave. And I need some Spurs therapy. That definitely needs some therapy. It's either that or drink. So I'd rather come on here to drink. So we'll take you. You're a better option.
You might want to be with Soren if you want to have a drink there, Dermot. On the bottles in the background.
But honestly, I'm trying to work out a couple of bottles of whiskey I might take off him if he sells them.
But honestly, no two better men to come on and give us a bit of therapy, Dermo. We'll start with the one and only returning Phil. Phil, how you keeping, my man?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's still a bit gutted from yesterday, but if I'm honest, I'm still a bit gutted from the Chelsea result as well. To be honest, it's 2 losses. We are the squad is thin at the moment, but there's no excuses really for yesterday. We should have put a better performance in, yesterday, and but onwards and upwards, lads. Do you know what I mean? We can't dwell on it. We've got to keep going.
Exactly. All you can do is pick your head up. I mean, I think we were all looking for that pick me up after the Chelsea game, and it didn't. We were so close to it. It didn't quite happen. But look, let's go on to a guy I've been trying to get him on for quite some time. I really like what I see when he's on other channels and stuff like that. And it's Soren. Soren, how you keeping, my man?
Thanks, Dave. I just want to say it looks like there's more talent on this panel than we had on the pitch yesterday. But yeah, what a shocker.
Yeah, it is. It is an absolute shocker. I couldn't. Do you know what? Part of me was expecting the late collapse as well with some of the players we had across that back line. Part of me was expecting it. I just didn't want it to become a reality. But look, we, of course, actually, just quickly, the under-21s are also 2-0 up as well. Kieran Menton with a great strike. Dorrington showing Dyer how Postecoglou centre-half actually plays in the build-up to that goal. And also, Will Lancashire doubled the score with a great cross from Jamie Donnelly. I mean, when's that guy going to get his opportunity? He's been doing it all season long. But we are here to talk about yesterday's 2-1 loss to Wolves, a very, very late collapse. But look, we'll go around the houses. We'll start with you on this one, Soren. Where does this defeat leave Tottenham?
I think it's kind of kicked a little bit of reality in. But look, let's not forget that we've lost our 4 of our best players yesterday. I mean, anybody that expected it to be a walk in the park yesterday is delusional. And we were saying before the show started, look, at the beginning of the season when we lost Harry Kane, half of our fans were telling us we were going to be relegated. We couldn't cope without Harry Kane, and we didn't have the players to play this sort of system. We've got a few players in. We've had an exceptional start. And none of us dreamed that this was going to be like it was. Chelsea, yes, we lost to them, and we lost 4-1. They should have battered us once we went down to 9 men and lost our 2 defenders. They weren't good enough to really play us at full strength. And I don't know, yesterday it was kind of watched the match, and it was almost like it was back to last season where I wasn't excited for the match. I kind of felt a bit flat before the game, and that first 5-10 minutes we went 1-0 up, and you suddenly got excited. You thought, bloody hell, we might actually do this today.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, it was almost as if all the players just got back on the bus and went home. I struggled to really find a player that I thought had an exceptional game, other than, and I know I'll probably get some flack, but other than Davies. I thought he had a great game, especially when we all expected him to be one of the 2 worst players on the pitch. But I don't know. At final whistle, I kind of didn't have any emotion. I felt absolutely flat. But I felt that from probably before the halftime whistle went. And the only thing that surprised me was it took them so long to score. That's the only thing that surprised me because I just saw it coming. And it wasn't because we had Eric Dyer and Davies in defence. And it was just, I don't know, the team just didn't play how we kind of been watching for the last few, for the last 8, 9.
There's no fluidity to it, right, Søren?
It was, I mean, look, I know we've lost our spine, and I get that, and that's a bigger loss to us than anybody, because without those 4 players, we haven't got a squad. That's the problem. The biggest downfall I thought was why wasn't Ash Phillips playing? I wanted to see him playing, but look, Dyer and Davies did pretty well. The only thing I would say with Dyer was that you saw his lack of pace. The amount of times when we were defending, he was still running back. That was the problem. But that wasn't part of why we conceded 2 goals, because it was the whole team's fault. And yeah, it was, I mean, it was almost as if yesterday didn't happen. I kind of got no emotion to yesterday's game whatsoever. That for this, it's like watching our team last season. I mean, we've had, I mean, even against Chelsea, when we went down to 9 men, we were still looking to try and score a goal. And I thought that was fantastic from our team. All last year, that's all we were shouting about. We wanted that attacking football. And then when we get it, everybody's moaning that, well, why is he still trying to attack? Well, we were 2-1 down. What's the point in trying to defend? We might as well lose 5-6-0 and at least have a go. So, I came out of Chelsea, I was gutted, I was, emotional, but at least we had a go. Yesterday was just like watching Spurs last year. I almost thought Conte was going to run the touchline at some point and start shouting at us for trying to attack. It was pathetically rank yesterday.
Do you know what? I definitely agree on that. It did look, a large. Since we scored the goal, everything really went flat, and for the large majority of it, did feel like we were watching basically what we were watching last season, or even in seasons gone by. And I'm trying to work out why, because look, this isn't just on Dyer, this defeat. This is on everyone. Everyone was shit yesterday. Everyone was flat yesterday. Dyer will take most of the slack because, he had an opportunity to leave in the summer, refused to. Then he gets his opportunity, and he it was a bad clearance, doubled down by a second error, being caught out of position by a third error, making his body smaller instead of coming out in front in the cross like that and trying to block it. So, I get that Dyer will take most of the criticism, and rightly so. I agree with you on Davies, by the way, Søren. I actually thought Davies had a very good game yesterday, believe it or not. But my problem is with them two, it just in general. We've seen this before. They can have good games for 90, 91 minutes, but they can't see games out. When it comes to seeing a close game out, these guys will crumble. These guys will make mistakes. They will make errors that end up coming back to haunt us. And I think that's my biggest problem with it. But look, like I said, it ain't just on Dyer or Davies not being able to see that out at centre-back. Midfield was shit yesterday, every single one of them. Forward line was useless yesterday. We'll definitely get into a lot more on that. Just quickly, I forgot to welcome people in. How dare I? Big up, Washkal. Great to see you in the building. We also have Sean E.J. Daniel. Says, Ange picked the wrong team. Davies and Dyer together at centre-back represents a Spursy rotten, often inexplicably beaten team. Lo Celso should have started instead of Bjerman, Højbjerg, also Basuma and Sarr. We're tired. I will get on to this about Ange Postecoglou picking Dyer and Davies. Just give us one moment there, DJ. Stu Smith says, think it's more of a case of running out of our good players. Yeah, because in the title I did put, did Spurs run out of legs or did they lose their bottle? Me personally, I think we lost our bottle, being brutally honest. I hear a lot, about, Dyer was tired come the end of the game. What's he tired for? He's barely played all season. He should be able to last the 90-odd minutes, no problem if he's a professional. Big up top 943 notes. Conte's players that keep letting us down. The shit back four. Look, when it comes to, they're not Conte players. Dyer and Davies ain't Conte players, by the way. They've been here a decade. They last longer than Conte. Ricky Nato says, evening, brothers. Happy Diwali to all Spurs fans celebrating. Some old player letting our team down, dwelling too long the ball and passing the ball backwards and sideways chance given to them clear out. There was a lot of that yesterday, but it really annoyed me as well, Ricky. We'll talk about that. Big up the regular, hashtag back Ange. Also, big up everyone. They're absolutely spot on. Mark says we ran out of good defenders, Dave. Do you know what we did? I am angry that we sort of went with Dyer and Davies yesterday. I would have rather seen Phillips. We'll get Phil on this in 1 second. Godfrey Drummond says, hello, Dave and panel. Big up yourselves. Big up, Godfrey. Good to see you in the building. We have Tequila 316. Big up, Dave, Dermot, Phil, and Soren. Great to see you, Tequila. You also have Peter M. Big up, David, Dermo, Soren, and Hill.
Brian Hill.
Oh, Phil. He just mistyped. Sorry, Peter M. Sorry, my man. Big yourself up. Sav is in here saying, Dave, still think we're winning the league. Look, Sava, until it's mathematically impossible, I will always believe. But what I will say with the guy that you love, Eric Dyer, that definitely ain't happening. So, definitely not happening with Eric Dyer now in at centre back for sure. Who else have we got here? Slow Jamrod. Big up, my man. Hi, David. Afternoon panel. Big up, Slow Jamrod. Big up, Blackjack Maestro. Crap midfielder. Pass ball back again. Royale is too shit. He's so arrogant and slow. I tell you what, he really fucked me off yesterday, my man. Really, really fucked me off yesterday. Then we have Dan, the Spurs fan. Always believe. Big Pants says, just imagine what crap we could be in for. If we qualified for Europe. Look, if we qualified for Europe, we wouldn't have got off to the start we did. No way at all. Who else have we got here? Paul Markey says key players sat down. Anyone know what infields means?
Probably the back line.
The players that came in. So key players sat down. The players that filled in are mid-table standard. Johnson is peripheral, playing Sarr in wrong position. Teams have worked out inverted fullbacks. We need a big shake-up. Phil, I'll throw this one at you. I mean, do we need that much of a drastic shake-up, or is there anything we can realistically do until we hobble across the line to the January transfer window?
A shake-up, like with the players that we've got now?
Players, tactics, maybe. I think because he also, Paul Markey also alludes that teams have worked out our system.
Yeah, I'd bring in some of the young blood in the academy, to be honest with you, just to freshen it up a bit. I think Donnelly deserves his chance. He's playing well in the under-21s at the moment, and Cooley doesn't seem to be hitting off at the moment. To be honest, I would have played Dorrington and Phillips against Wolves, just to see what they can do. I think they are good enough. I've watched them play quite a few times this season, and I think they're good enough to fill in there. But what do I know? But yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe it does need a shake up. Maybe teams are sussing us out at the minute with the players that we have. But yeah, I don't know. It seems a bit flat for me at the moment. It was a flat performance against Wolves. And,
why do you think it's gone flat?
Maybe it's because of the injuries that we've got, and certain players aren't good enough to step up. There's a massive drop off when we have Maddison, Van der Ven, Romero. We all know the players that are massively important to this team and team going forward in the attacking sense. So yeah, there's just a drop off, and I don't think a lot of the players have full confidence in the players that are stepping in. And I think it showed against Wolves yesterday.
Look, I definitely agree with that. I think some of the players that stepped in yesterday, you could see a massive sort of drop off in quality. That they're just not at the standard. They're not at the level. They don't have the mobility. Some of them don't have just the technical ability to be able to play handball at the speed and the intensity that it's supposed to be playing at. But look, then, Phil, I'll double down on the question to you. Is it a case then, look, personally, I think we had a good transfer window in summer in terms of the players that we brought in. But I did say maybe not buying that striker, not buying that centre-back could very well come back to haunt us. Is it a case of, again, what we didn't do in the summer maybe coming back to haunt us?
We didn't do enough in the summer. We bought very good players, but just not enough for the actual squad itself. The players that I've filled in, like yesterday and against Chelsea, they just aren't good enough for this football team, and it is showing. It's showed for a while, to be honest, Dave. With the likes of Dyer and Davis and players like that, they aren't good enough, and we need to act pretty sharp in these next couple of transfer windows to get this squad sorted. And it's not all doom and gloom. It's 11 games into the season, and there's a January window coming up, and we fully need to act on that. Levy needs to act on that, and obviously the squad is showing, how it's not good enough. So we'll just have to see if Levy puts his hand in his pocket and gives Ange what he wants.
Well, reports by David Ornstein weren't that. What would you say? He doesn't give you much hope going into the January transfer window. He reckons there's not a lot of money there for us to spend whatsoever.
But in the last couple of games, we know the board must know that the players aren't good enough to fill in to still have a squad that's good enough. We need to replace these players with top quality players, and it shows. It shows.
Yeah, absolutely spot on there, Phil. Dermo, where are we at? Paul Markey says Johnson is peripheral player. That Sarr's maybe playing in the wrong position as well. I'd actually argue that Sarr being taken off from that position, he gave us less cover down that side.
Yeah, I think he did. Look, I have to agree with what everybody else is saying. It was a poor performance yesterday. We cannot disagree on that. But this is a bump in the road. It's not like we've been playing bad all season. We've been playing quite well. And, okay, some games haven't been good as others, but we've had a great start to the season, and none of us sitting here would have thought we'd be here. None of us thought we'd be top of the league or only 2 defeats out of 12 games. We never thought. Yesterday was a bad performance. We can all agree in that. Players didn't step up. Players didn't play well. Davies, for me, had a cracking game. He had an absolute cracking game. Dyer did let us down. And I think the midfield let us down. All three of them weren't good enough. But look, it's a bump in the road. Let's not get carried away. I know we've got bigger games coming up, and we know we're missing players, but play the kids, put the kids in. I agree with Phil. Dave, I wanted Phillips and Dorrington to play in the centre backs yesterday. I banged on about that. Yeah, if you're good enough, you're old enough. Put in the kids. That's what we've done in the past. That's what we did in the 80s. The likes of Mickey Hazard, the likes of Tony Galvin come in when he's young. Players like that. We can do it, and they're good enough to do it, and they can play in that system because they've got no fear. They won't fear going on to a Premier League game. It won't freeze them. They will play from minute 1 to minute 97 and give them all. Some of them players yesterday didn't give them all. And Dyer's not the only one. I think there's a good few players out there that deserve a bollocking. But with Johnson, I think he ran out of legs. I think I agree with that. I agree with Postecoglou. He was tired. He hasn't played much football. And as for Papa Sarr, I think he was playing that position yesterday and it didn't work. But we learn from it. We move on. I apologise if you can hear music. It's the young lad practicing with his guitar. He's a great musician, brilliant guitar player. Taught himself. So if you can hear it in the background, I do apologise. I put myself on mute, but that's why if you can hear any music, that's him practicing.
It's a good job that we've got a buffer of, we've had a great start, because these next, few games coming up, especially in December as well, we've got some really tough games coming up with a thin squad. So it's a good job we've got them points in the bag, because it could have been terribly wrong. It could have been a really bad start. So luckily we've got them points in the bag.
Yeah, but Phil, you say that at the beginning of the season, if we'd have said we'd lost 2 games out of the first 12, nobody would have been unhappy.
No one would have. No, that's what I'm saying. We've had a great.
Even if we go on to lose another couple, we're exactly where most people thought we would be by then. So I don't understand what the big fallout is. That we've lost half of our team through injury, and people think we're going to suddenly still be playing exactly the same as we did in the first 6 or 7 games? I'm not saying you, by the way, but this is blowing my head that all of a sudden it's a total disaster because we've lost 2 games, and we've lost 2 games because we've lost half of our chuffing team.
And on top of that, Dave, Ange would not accept that yesterday. He would have let them players know on no certain terms that is not acceptable. He would have said, I know you're going off the international players. I guarantee you the players that are still at Hotspur Way that come in tomorrow morning for training will be put through the mill. And this isn't a Conte or Mourinho or Poch where it's okay, we'll take it on the chin. Ange will not accept this. Ange will go into a meeting with the board. I want this player. I want that player in January. Find me the money. The players that are there will be put through their paces the next 10 days because he will not accept that.
I think the reason why we have the feeling around though as well is because we've been here before, right? We top of the league under Jose up until December. Wheels fell off underneath Antonio Conte. We got Champions League, started off the next season well, sitting up in the top, challenging. And then the wheels come off, and then we're here again. And I think many Spurs fans is the reason why the mood is around the fan base at the minute is because we've been here before, we've seen it before. When you're relying on certain players, we know what to expect, And I think that's why I do agree with what you're saying, sorry. Most people would have snapped their hand off for that at the start of the season. I do think we have to maybe at times take stock of where we are now compared to where we were at. I just think the reason why the feeling is because many people maybe fear that it could be reverted back to, a false start, a false start again. But on Paul Markey, look, I want to take the Johnson one. I was a bit disappointed in Johnson yesterday. I thought after the Chelsea game being the sacrificial lamb, he'd come out, and he'd put in a great performance because the only way of not being the sacrificial lamb in future is by being undroppable. And he got the goal, but I thought for the rest of the game, he didn't really do anything for me. He didn't really do much. And look, he wasn't the only one. Son, I thought was non-existent as well. But I was just a little bit disappointed in Johnson.
Yeah, for 3 minutes of the game, Dave, it was an Ange performance. And then for 87 minutes plus injury time, it was a Conte-style performance from last year. That's exactly how it went.
But we said this with Johnson when he played against Arsenal, that there was no tracking back from him. All he did was attack. Now, he's shown that his attacking ain't bad, but it makes that left-hand side a lot weaker when we had bloody Emerson Royale on the left-hand side.
He's playing out of position.
He's
playing out of position for me.
He was so out of depth yesterday, so out of his depth. A lot of people don't rate him on the right. Well, nobody can rate him on the left. That's the problem. And he's been terrible on the left, Dave. I don't think he's had a good 10 minutes in the matches he's played on the left. Now, I don't mind him on the right, but it's shocking.
But there's arguments to say when he has had the few little minutes down the right hand side, it looks a lot more comfortable, a lot more better.
On the right, yeah.
That's why he played on Forest.
Yeah.
The problem is that, look, yesterday we had, it was almost, it's going back to that game against Fulham in the Cup. It was a disaster waiting to happen, and it's happening. But look, let's just get over it. We've lost enough. And I think most of us are, Villa's going to be tremendously hard to get even a point out of. City, I don't hold much hope, but come on, we weren't expecting much better at the beginning of the season, so why are we all of a sudden think we're title winners? And it's the worst thing in the world because we've lost 2 matches out of 12. But let's be realistic that this is what we kind of expected to happen at some point. We're getting what we expected, so why is everybody suddenly saying it's the end of our season? It's not. We're 12 games into it.
Look, sorry, I think you make a fair point, that many predicted this demise would happen. So, why is everyone throwing the toys out of the pram? Sorry, Demo.
And also, teams go through bad patches anyway. Maybe this is just our bad patch. Teams do go through bad patches in seasons. Maybe we're getting ours out of the way early. And look, and I think
5 or 6 of the first starting 11, though.
Well, look, Look, it is what it is. We can't do anything until January, so we're stuck with what we've got. So the players that go out to the pitch have to perform. They have to do a job for Ange. We can't do anything. We can't. There's no point complaining. There's no point moaning about it. It is what it is.
We could have
As you
done.
said,
We
go
could
on,
have
Phil.
prevented this though.
I'm
We
not
could have prevented this from getting. I mean, we bought some quality players in, the likes of Maddison and Van der Ven, but we didn't get that quantity in that we needed for the squad. And now this is showing. We all knew that we'd probably likely get injuries throughout the season, and that's coming to fruition now. And you know, we didn't do that. We didn't do that. And
Phil, how many players were we going to get in now? This is the thing. Yeah, we keep saying, well, we only got one defender now, we only got this in. But how many players realistically were we ever going to get in?
There were options. There were options out there for us to get players in.
You told me the defenders that we could have got in.
Tosin's wanted.
Didn't come. Won't come in.
I actually heard he did want to come, but it was something to do with his contract to come to us.
The team were not going to let him come.
There was players out there. There was players out there that we could have got. Maybe not to the level of Maddison or Van der Ven, but there were players out there that we could have got in to strengthen the squad, and we didn't do that. We concentrated on getting the players out, which is good. We concentrated on getting some players out, but we needed to give us that backup of players if we did have any injury. It's showing.
Look, of course, you can't go and sign 16 players. You know, look at the problems Forest had sort of gelling them in. But for me, first of all, big up Paul Markey, by the way. I really appreciate the support, my man. But for me, I think where the problem comes in is we all knew that back line has been a problem for quite some time. It became more evident last season than ever before. So that was the key area we need to address. Why was it one of the last areas we addressed in the summer transfer window? And then, you know, another thing, I'm told no player's bigger than the club. That's why Harry Kane needs to leave. Okay, grand. Then why are we letting Dyer and Hugo Lloris hold the club to ransom then? Where's that same energy? Where's that same sort of where's that same energy towards these guys? You're not bigger than the club. Get the fuck out. Reason why we didn't bring in another centre-back is because Dyer's already on 80 grand a week. And we don't want to carry another centre-back on similar amount of wages in the squad because we don't want to carry Dyer here doing nothing. And this has been a huge problem. We've had players that are holding on to their career by hook or crook at Tottenham Hotspur. We ain't doing anything to try and force their hand to get them out either. And then we're the ones paying the price for it then when the season comes around. And that's my big problem with it. You know, I just think with that centre-back, you know, we were told last January when we all knew we needed centre-backs, don't worry, two's coming in the summer. Well, it pissed me off when we didn't do it last January. So then this summer I'm expecting two. And we get in one, even though it was our weakest area last season. We scored goals last season. We couldn't keep them out. And then, so that's where my problem comes in.
We did get in two, Dave.
Two centre-backs, and they didn't do it. It's priorities.
We did get in two, but we ain't using one. You know, we bought in Phillips. You know, we haven't used him there. There was an opportunity to use Phillips yesterday, and we didn't use him. Why is that? You know, I did question that decision yesterday because Phillips is a quick player. You know,
he's a quick centre back. Why aren't we using him? That's the question.
Yeah, exactly. Why have we brought him in? For obviously he's a hot prospect. He's a future prospect for this club. But you know, we need centre backs in. You know, we haven't tried him out yet. So what was the point in bringing him in the first place? You know.
If you want to play in that,
this was a guy that we were linked with before Postecoglou even came here. We tried to get him the summer before that, but they wanted too much money. We actually took advantage of Blackburn's financial troubles this summer. That's why we brought him in. But sorry, Sarah, I think you were going to say something.
Just agreeing with Phil, you know, saying that why aren't we playing Ash Phillips? What is it that's? I know he's a young lad, and I know that he's been bought for the future. I get that, but. You know, what is it that he's not even giving him any minutes? You know, there's been no opportunities for him whatsoever. So he's either not good enough.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say, a prime example, look at Liverpool. They've brought in that Quansah from their academy. He's 18 years old, 19 years old. They're giving him a shot, you know. Why aren't we giving these young players a chance? You know, they seem to be good enough.
One
I've
thing
said
to
it.
say,
Sorry.
I think Tequila said he was a club signing. I'm pretty positive to say Ange said he would not let any players come in unless he agreed to it. So if he was a club signing, then Ange Postecoglou has agreed to it as well. So we can't keep on going. Oh, it's a club signing. It's a club signing. It's a club signing because Ange has put on record that he will not allow a player to come in unless he's unless he's agreed to it. So look, the thing is, Savas kind of said it perfectly. We signed again, window after window, the wrong priorities. We've all been saying we need defenders in for the last few seasons. We got one in, we got a young lad in. Everybody was saying, yeah, we were going to get two. No, if you actually listen to it, it was always one or the other, one or the other, one or the other. There were a few outlets saying we were getting two in, and then all of a sudden it was no, it's one or the other, it's one or the. We got one in. We got one of the main players that we wanted in Van der Ven. It took longer than it should have done. All the rumours say that we tried on the last day, and I know it's too late on the last day of the season, but the thing is, we were never going to get all the players that we need in one window. Let's just get off this high horse in thinking we're not signing enough players. It's a build again. That's the problem. We are building again. It's going to take 3 or 4 windows to get the exact squad Ange Postecoglou wants. Now, I mean, there's already been rumblings saying we're not going to have a lot of money to spend in January. But I'll tell you what, I bet we do get a defender in. I bet you we do get a defender in.
But at what cost, though? It's already cost us. This is the problem, like. It's already cost us. It's already too late. In fact, it's a year too
100%.
late from what we were promised last January. My problem is you go and address the most costly areas in your squad first. Look, we brought in Brennan Johnson, but let's be real. Did we really need Brennan Johnson? No. What we did need is cover at centre back. Everyone knew in the summer Dyer staying here. Eventually, he's going to have to come in through injuries or suspensions, and this was going to happen. And this is my point. It's cost us. We're not prioritizing the right areas. That backline has been a problem since. It cost Pochettino his job. It cost Jose Mourinho his job. It's cost Conte his job, and that should have been the first area that they went out and addressed. And I'm not saying, you have to bring in 2 world-class centre-backs, but bring in Van der Ven and someone else so that you're not relying on the same players that have caused managers and all these other projects to sort of unravel. And that's where it annoys me. It's just like it was the most obvious. Ange Postecoglou walking in here would have said, look, in order for me to play my system, I need better centre-backs that can play out from the back, but also better centre-backs that can defend, because the centre-backs are the most isolated players in my system. Would have been the first thing he would have asked for. He came out over the summer. Once we signed one, he said, okay, now we need another. He said we need 2. And again, they don't listen to the manager. They sort of bring in what they want. And I get that it's a project and it takes time. But surely you address the weakest areas of your squad to give that project the best chance to excel.
Any decent side
because Eric Dyer didn't go, that's why we didn't get that other defender in. Had Dyer gone, then I think we would have got that other defender in. That's the problem. We can all sit here and say, well, we should have got rid of it. How do you get rid of somebody who doesn't want to go? That's the problem.
Soren, there's loads. Look, I hear this all the time. I listen to a lot of managers, a lot of ex-players and stuff who, speak about their career and have been in times like that. There's plenty of things the club can do to force this player out the door. Let's not forget, this club, stop playing Danny Rose and continued paying his wages. If players don't want to leave the club, you can say, look, we've already made it perfectly clear you're not a part of this team. You're going to be doing all the trainings on your own. So when the first team squad has gone home, you're coming in the evening to do runs. Plus, trust me, players very quickly get fed up and pissed off with that, and they will look to leave. Also, we could have came to them and said, look, how much to pay up your contract? You can agree to pay up that last year, and usually it works out in and around 60-70% that the club end up paying. But why not do that for the benefit of the club so that we can bring in players? What we've done is, we allow Dyer to act like he's bigger than this football club. He gets to choose what he wants to do, even though he's not good enough. And then he comes in and he costs us a game like yesterday. We have to be more ruthless at this football club. You know, other clubs do this to players. We act like we can't do this to players. This, that, and the other. It's happened all throughout football.
It's a player holding the club to ransom. Basically, that's what it is. And look, we cannot allow players to hold us to ransom. But Soren said it's only one window. And we don't know what's going to happen. I think Dyer has come out and said he wanted to run down his contract. He wanted to go on the free transfer. Well, then you just cancel his contract. Let him do it early. Same as Hugo release. You pay out the contract. You do it early. Get them out the club. Look, we will get there. We will get there. We will get the players in we need. Some in January and next summer. Let's not panic. This season was always going to be a season for rebuilding. And then next season was the big push. Yesterday wasn't acceptable. We all agree on that. We all agree Dyer is not a great defender. We all agree on that. We all agree Emerson wasn't good yesterday. We've got a new back four and a goalkeeper that have been outstanding in every game we played this season. The players that have come in haven't been good enough. We all accept that. Let's trust Ange what he's doing. Let's get behind him. Let's see what happens. We never thought we'd be in this position. We never thought, everyone's saying we'd be in a relegation form or lower mid-table. We're still in the Champions League place. Look, who knows? Football's a funny old game. We can turn up in Villa and beat Villa 4-0. Who knows? We don't know that. So let's not get caught up on who did what and who said what and who didn't do what. Let's see what happens. We know these players ain't good enough. We know this should have been sorted out a long time ago. A long, long time ago. We have got half the job done, do the other half in January, the other half next summer, and we will see a better team. I know it's frustrating. I get that.
It's not only that, Darmo. They're putting every manager in a compromising position by not addressing certain areas.
Yesterday,
you're seeing fans already going for Postecoglou's head and asking questions of Postecoglou,
which is ridiculous.
I mean, even though the guy asked for centre backs this summer, he asked for 2, didn't get it, so he has to play a player that was already here before he got here. He lets it down. Along with some others that Postecoglou has to play before he arrived here, and all of a sudden he's the one taking the flak. And, when are we going to stop making the same mistakes? If the club really want to put a manager in the very best position and not have questions asked around him so earlier on into his tenure, you get rid of players that have caused a problem in the dressing room and for managers and let them down in years gone by. And we failed to do that. So I will moan about it because it's coming back to haunt us. I warned everybody by not doing this, by not being ruthless to Dyer this summer, this exact situation is going to come about. And I said to everybody, don't go for Ange Postecoglou this time, but we're making the same mistakes. People are already going for Ange Postecoglou. I get the question. If we're in a rebuild, why didn't he start Phillips? Now, I thought about this all last night, and I've been racking my brain around it. Now, come the Carabao Cup game, Postecoglou wanted to give everyone a chance to prove their worth to this squad, right? Dyer didn't play that game. He was out injured, so he didn't play. So I think he's given him his opportunity. I just hope that he takes him out the side now and puts Phillips in there for the next game and learns his lesson. But if he's going on being fair, which he did with pre-season, which he did with the Carabao Cup game, then I can understand why he started Dyer. I just hope now he's learned his lesson.
Yeah, and I think also there's been a culture around Tottenham where players have ruled. You've got to change that culture. No player's bigger than the club. This is the culture Ange is trying to change. Hang on a minute here. Nobody's bigger than the club. Not Dyer, not Harry Kane, not Maddison, nobody. If a player isn't good enough, he's a troublemaker. You look at Ferguson did at United. As soon as he knew there was a player within that dressing room that was causing any bit of problems, he was out the door. As quick as anything. You look, he sacked Roy Keane, got him out the door quick. You look at a load of players, he got them out. That's what we need Ange to do. He needs to change the culture of the football club because the culture at the club at the moment is players rule, the club comes second. It should be the other way around. It should be the club, no player is bigger than the club. This is a culture he's got to change, and it's a cultural thing as well, Dave. I agree with everything everyone has said, but he's got to change the culture. You look at Ferguson at United and managers at Liverpool or Man City, one bit of trouble, you're out the door. That's the culture we've got to have. We've got to be ruthless. It's no more being, it's only Eric Dyer. It's okay, Eric. You can do, we got you and all this. You're not good. You're out the door. And that's what it's got to be. It's got
I think he has changed certain aspects of the club.
Yeah.
and certain aspects of obviously the playing style and everything has changed within the club. So he's done that in a short space of time, which is very impressive as a manager. But you know, like Dave said, these players come back to haunt us every time, and there'll always be a stumbling block when they come into the side. And we need to replace these players with fresh blood, players out of the academy or you know in the transfer market, and we need to improve this squad.
Yeah, for sure. And look, Dermo already said, you know, he would go with the likes of Phillips and Dorrington for the next game. We'll ask the same to you, Phil, and the same to Soren, and then we'll maybe move on to some other talking points. But what would you do against Villa? Do you stick with the experience, or do you maybe, you know, mix it up and go one experienced, one younger, i.e. Davies and Phillips?
I would go with Phillips myself. Davies did have a good game. He surprised me. But yeah, I'd stick Phillips in there. I'd take Dyer out the team. Phillips has got that pace like Van der Ven. Probably not as quick as Van der Ven because that's taking some doing. But Phillips is a quick defender. He's capable on the ball. You know, he brings it out, and you know, I think he suits our style perfectly. So he would be my pick. He would be my pick straight away.
For sure. Soren, where are you at with it, my man? Because King Hoddle, I'll come back to Paul Markey Super Chat, but King Hoddle says, what makes you think Phillips would have handled those tricky, pacey Wolves forward? He could have been badly exposed by being thrown in straight into the cauldron. Then what? I'll have my own answer on this, but what would you say to that, Soren? And who do you want to see against Villa?
You know, just slightly backstepping a little bit before I answer that, but
yeah,
let's not forget as well that, you know, we've got a brand new manager. We've lost our all-time leading goal scorer. We've only just got our director of football in. We've only just starting to put our chief scouts and things like that in. The club is going under such a transformation at the moment. Let's not write the club off 12 games into the season. Right?
I agree.
I mean, on this one, so I don't understand why Phillips hasn't started a game. The only thing I can think Angie's doing with Dyer is he wants that kind of senior player in there. Now,
experience.
That experience. And it's shown it kind of hasn't worked because Dyer, we can kind of all said it all season that if Dyer plays, he hasn't got the pace to recover from his mistakes. Now, all match yesterday, all you kept seeing was when we were defending, Davies was throwing himself all over the place. Royal was trying, Porro was trying. Well, Eric Dyer was still running back. That was the problem. He was still halfway up the pitch. You know, he's past it. We need to get him out. If that means that Phillips comes in and he's overrun, well, he's overrun. But he's got to learn. You know, you hope it won't kill his confidence, but we've got to try it. I mean, there was a lot of us that were mourning again, you know, in the game back against Fulham in the Cup, where we tried all these new players and some people agreed with it, some of us didn't. Well, if we can't risk playing a player now where the whole team looks shocking, so what difference is it going to make by bringing this young lad in? It might be a revelation.
Yeah.
It might be a disaster.
Yeah. And Soren, if he did bring him in, you know, I think we would all on this panel say, at least he tried something new. At least he tried one of the young players, you know, to come into the first team. You know, but we haven't seen that. We can't have an opinion on it until he actually plays him. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
Do you know
this is that if we don't at least try now, which is going to be the worst game to try him in, against Villa or against City? I mean, you play him against City, that could totally destroy the lad. If he comes and has a half decent game against Villa, then you kind of look at it and think, right, is there a Tottenham fan out there that doesn't think we're going to lose against City? You know, I mean, we all hope we're not going to.
It's a write-off. It's a write-off.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'll sit there before the match and tell everyone that we're going to win, but you know, it could be a total disaster against City. It could be that Newcastle game from last season. But I would rather put Phillips in against Villa than against City for his first game.
It was a perfect opportunity to put him in yesterday. Perfect opportunity.
Yesterday was the perfect.
Before the games against Villa and City. If he had a blinder against Wolves yesterday, he could have come in. It was his first. It would have been his first start for the club. He would have been absolutely buzzing to play, and it could have paid off. It could have paid off, but we didn't play him, and we'll never know.
Yeah,
I think the thing everyone actually misses with Phillips is he actually has some experience with Blackburn Rovers at senior level. He's played a few championship games and a few cup games for them. My point, look, this isn't that King Huddle, by the way, because this is an argument I see everywhere when it comes to Phillips. But, you know, he says, what if he came straight in and it didn't work out? But you're assuming it won't work out. It's 50-50. It could work out. So and if it could work out, my opinion is, why are we resorting back to what we know doesn't work just because he's older and he's got more experience, then giving a guy that isn't tainted by what's happened over at Tottenham over the last few years and could very well go on to succeed. My next problem with it is everyone goes to me, oh, Dave, what about Jared Braithwaite at Everton? He ain't much older than Phillips. Why not give your own guys the opportunity rather than go out and spend 50 million on another English player to bring him in here when you've got one that you've sorted out? Put your money where your mouth is. You chose to bring him in and not bring in another centre back. Give the guy the opportunity, in my opinion. I've watched nearly every under-21 game this season, and I can tell you now, he's head and shoulders above anybody else in that team. Barely puts a foot wrong. I've seen something today on Twitter going, he ain't good in possession. They clearly haven't watched the under-21 games. He's good in possession. The under-21s are playing similar way to the Postecoglou way. Centre-halves are being asked to do what Van de Ven and Romero have been asked to do. And Phillips has shown to me that he can do it. Also, in the AFL trophy, where you're up against League 1, League 2 opposition, he's also shown me he can do it. And sometimes all you need to do is give the dad an opportunity. We are in grave danger of making same mistakes that we've made in the past, where we've clogged up the system with absolute shit and refused to give under-21 players a look in, even though there was more arguments to give them a look in years gone by than there is this time around. And what happened is they end up leaving elsewhere, going and getting first-team football, and some of them have gone on and made big moves that we have missed out on the money on, or we've missed out on that player that we could have done with the last few years. We've purposely made, since Paratici arrived, to lower the average age of the squad. We've managed to get a lot of these under-21s who are looking to go elsewhere, by the way, to sign on a dotted line and stay at Tottenham Hotspur, and we've told them there's a pathway there. So start producing the pathway. Stop turning back to players that cost us time and time again. We all knew once Eric Dyer was picked yesterday what was going to happen. Let's be brutally honest. We were all praying that he'd get us over the line. But when you're at that situation, you already know what he's going to offer. And the problem is, he had a good game for 91 minutes, but it's 90-plus minutes, and he cannot see out the game. When the nervous moments come in, when it's tight, Dyer does not have that mentality, and this is something we need to learn. Yeah. When you bring in someone like Phillips, that youngness, that naiveness can sometimes work in your favor. You don't feel the heat or the pressure in them games. Let's give the guy an opportunity and stop persisting with a guy who constantly loses us games. Always. He made 3 mistakes leading up to that goal yesterday. And this is the problem with him. He makes 1 mistake and he doubles down with a second later because he doesn't have the mentality to get rid of that mistake straight away and focus on the game. And I'm sick of it. Why do we keep returning to people that have cost us, that was a part of our greatest ever striker wanted to leave this football club, that have got managers that have brilliant CVs all around Europe, but when they come to Tottenham Hotspur, their CV dies. Why do we keep persisting with these guys? I'm fed up with it. And this is where, like I said, I can excuse Postecoglou yesterday if he's going off the mantra that he held pre-season and for the Carabao Cup selection. But if this continues and Dyer's still making them mistakes, I will have a problem with Postecoglou.
You could spin it the other way. I mean, Phillips or Dyer. Like in this question here, if we'd have played Phillips, how do you know he would have had a good performance? But you're playing Dyer, right? He's not full of confidence. He's not full of confidence in playing in the starting 11 at the moment. So you could spin it the other way by picking Dyer.
You know there's always a mistake in Dyer. You know that before the game starts, somewhere along the line he's gonna cock up. Ashley Phillips, I stated for 3 or 4 days before the game, start Dorrington, start Ashley Phillips, play the kids, play them both at centre back. They've got a relationship in the under-21s and start them. And all the arguments was, you're going to destroy their confidence. It's going to happen. They're not going to play well.
How can you destroy their confidence, bring them into a team full of confidence?
I know, exactly. Exactly. And that was my argument. You start with the kids and you let them, they'll play with no fear. That is the thing. They come in with no fear, with no expectations. You don't know. They're going to enjoy it. They're going to be buzzing. They're going to be, my parents are here to watch making the debut for my club. I'm playing Premier League football. They're going to be on fire. And if they make a mistake, they make a mistake. We can all live with that. We can't live with Eric Dyer or Davis or Emerson making mistakes again and again and again. And it wasn't just Dyer yesterday that was piss poor. It was the rest of the team that was piss poor.
The whole team.
We'll get on to that in a minute. We'll get on to that in a minute.
Sonny was nowhere to be seen. But you
think about it.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, if you think about it, if you put Dorrington and Phillips in the middle and put Davies on the left, we'd have had a far more balanced back four than we did, because you've not got you've not got Raul trying to play in the left back where he doesn't play. You've got, I mean, I know Davies isn't great there, but it would have been a far better balanced team at the back, and then you just hope the midfield hold out a bit better. But that's the problem then when you play Johnson on the left up front. There is no defence from the front on that left-hand side. It's gone. So all you've got is Emerson Royale trying to defend back there with Dyer and Davis in the back too. It doesn't work.
Yeah, and fair play to Ben Davies yesterday. I'd have to give him credit. Out of all of that back four, he was outstanding yesterday. I'm sorry, and that surprises me to say that. But Ben Davies played well yesterday. He got man of the match, and he richly deserved that man of the match mantle yesterday, because he was throwing his body all over the place. He was throwing his body on the line. He was running back. He looked absolutely spent at the end of that game. Eric Dyer, I think, was it the first goal, bent out of the way like he was trying to act like a banana. And I said yesterday in our watch along, if he stayed up strong, stayed up straight, the ball would have hit him straight in the stomach. And
he's on 80 grand a week.
Yeah.
He can't come out and go full frontal because you might get hurt, and he's on 80 grand a week. We've all played the game. All it does is give you a little sting and you move on. It's an absolute embarrassment. But just last thing on Davies. I don't know where you guys are at with it. Look, great game yesterday, put in the shift. And I'm trying to work out whether he's not a left back anymore and he's just a centre back only, or whether he epitomizes the inconsistency of some of these players and the reason why they have to go. Because Carabao Cup game, useless. What was it? Crystal Palace, useless. Then comes in yesterday and puts in a man of match performance. And it could very well be the case. Postecoglou goes with him against Aston Villa, and he ends up turning useless again. And look, good performance yesterday, but I struggle to really give him a lot of praise and say, he's the answer going forward because of the inconsistency of the man's performances.
I mean, look, we know Ben Davies isn't consistent. We all get that. But yesterday he was, and it really showed how bad Dyer was yesterday in the back four. It proved yesterday. You could, and Soren and Philip been right, Emerson and Dyer. There's your 2 weak links yesterday. It stuck out like a sword thumbnail. You saw how bad them two were. And you just sit there and thinking, what more do we have to do? How much more do we have to go through with these players? How much more heartache do we have to go through? And something has to give. And hopefully the next 2 weeks he's training with Phillips and Dorrington. He brings them up and trains them and trains them and trains them. By Villa, he might say,
he won't have 2 weeks for Phillips. Phillips is going on underage in England.
Yeah. Well, do you know what I mean? He might even have Dorrington and say, right, okay, you're in at Villa. Well. Yeah, but do you know, when they come back, you're in at Villa. I'm trusting you to do a job, and there's your partnership. You had the same with Ledley King. We brought him in early. We had back in the 80s with the youngsters that came in. Mickey Hazard came through the youth system. You had Ali Dick as well. You had all these other players that came through the youth system that we bought young. They were given a chance. Tottenham is to do. We've always played the kids. And if you want to use an example, look at Fergie with the class of 92. How many people have started that season and say, you don't? Alan Hansen, a brilliant Liverpool defender, Scottish defender in his time. You can't win anything with kids. What did United do at the end of that season? They've done a double. So you can win with kids. If you're good enough, you're old enough. If the manager trusts you, you will go through a brick wall for that team. And this is what we've got to do. We've got to go with the kids. We've got to put them in. Get out the old guard, bring in the new broom, and let's go with them. What's the worst that can happen?
Realistically,
What's the worst
does any of you see it actually changing before January, though? I don't. I mean, you know, looking at the injuries we've got back there, I know Romero comes back, blah, 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 but I don't think we're going to see much of a change until January, and we see what, you know, who we do maybe bring in. That's the only time I think we're going to change. Now, there's obviously a reason Postecoglou isn't playing them youngsters at the back. There's obviously a reason. He's seen something we're not. Now, whether he's just not prepared to lose points, but I mean, we're going to lose points with Dyer in there anyway. So, to me, the thing is, if we put them kids in and we lose the next 2 or 3 games, which we're kind of expecting against Villa and City, half the fan base are going to blame Postecoglou. So he's in a no-win situation. So you kind of look at it and think, well, why not just put the kids in then?
But the same half the fan base though that asked for, you know, Postecoglou, that asked for a rebuild, you know, that said we weren't in a title race. This is a rebuild, this, that, and the other. So
we've only got the one injury at the back, which is Van der Ven. He's out for a considerable amount of time.
What I mean, you know,
Adoji comes back in against Villa.
Yeah.
And then you've got Romero comes back. I think it's after City, is it?
Yeah.
After City,
It's the game after City. So, you know, it's not all doom and gloom, but you know, Van der Ven is the biggest miss.
I don't get the fan base that are, you know, screaming at Ange Postecoglou because, you know, we came into this season, like we've already said, where none of us expected to be quite where we are now. Some of us, I mean, I'm one of them. You know, you start getting carried away, thinking, bloody hell, you know, this is going well, and game after game after game, we're building momentum, and then the wheels kind of fall off. But you can't just suddenly start turning around and saying, no, it's Ange Postecoglou's fault, blah blah blah, because he can only play the players he's got now. We can question whether we agree with his choices of players, but at the end of the day, you know, it's his job on the line, and he's got to pick the strongest squad he believes, because if it does go wrong, he's lost his. We're all going to be sat here next season or the season after with a new manager, either criticising or, you know, lauding whoever's in charge now. I hope it's Postecoglou, because I can only see him doing great things with his club.
It was interesting to see. It was interesting to see yesterday that we didn't play that high line against Wolves. I thought we dropped quite.
And I think that's
we dropped further back. And I wasn't shocked by it, because that's what I wanted us to do. I wanted us to drop further back because we didn't have the players, the pace to play that high line. But he did tell us all that he was not going to change for anybody. So he has got some plan Bs in there, you know.
No, but if you watched a lot of that yesterday with the defending, you had that line, then you had Dyer 3 or 4 yards closer. It was Dyer that was, bringing the line back all the time, because I think there was one point where there was a cross came in, and Dyer was like 4 yards in front of the rest of the defenders, playing Wolves onside, and you think, what the hell are you? It would have been offside, but Dyer was playing everybody on all the time. Now, whether that line was brought back because Postecoglou saw that he didn't have the pace, and that's the only thing. I don't think he's changed his style for the fact of he wanted to. I think he had to change to bring it back. Oh, Dyer was just doing what he was meant to do.
I do want to say something on that back line, because it's something that I've heard Conte say, and I've heard Jose Mourinho say with certain individuals that played underneath them. I just want to take this from Paul Markey. Sorry it took me a while, Paulie. He says Feliz is good enough to start. Look, I like Feliz. I think there's definitely a player in there, right? You know, he can hold up the ball. He's got a decent layoff, this, that, and the other. Finishing-wise, he ain't ready for the Premier League, in my opinion. I've watched him for the couple of games he's played for the under-21s. All-round game, good. Finishing-wise, that composure just maybe ain't quite there. And I know he scored for them the other night and he took his chance well, but he has missed a lot of other opportunities that were easier than that he should have buried. But look, it's one of them. You're just gonna have to drip. Give him minutes off the bench and stuff like that. But I don't think Feliz is just quite there yet, Paul Markey. Look, he's got the height, he's got the physicality and stuff like that. It's just the finishing. I think if the chances present themselves, I'm not quite sure he'll take them at the same rate that other players do, or like a son does, or something like that, my man. But I do hear you. I do like Paul Markey, or I do like Valise Paul Markey. Big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate the support. Everyone, please smashing that like button out there. It really does help us in the fight with the algorithm. Feel free to smash the subscribe button, and feel free to get your questions in. Why not make it a super chat? Great way to support everything we do here, and a great way to maybe dictate what we're talking about. But back onto that back line, lads. Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho both said something very similar to when they were asked in press conferences after games, why is that defense sitting so deep? And they've both come out and said something similar where they said, I haven't asked them to play that deep. I'm telling them to push up. There's been footage of them telling them to push up. But the players on the pitch, like a Dyer and a Davies, they will always keep that line to suit themselves rather than what they're being told, because they know they don't have the pace to play Premier League football anymore. From when they first came into the Premier League to now, the speed, the agility, everything else has ramped up. They know they don't have that pace to play it, so they drop the line to suit themselves. And then it has a knock-on effect for everyone else throughout that team. Are we surprised that some of the old individuals come back in? And we're seeing the same shit that we've seen under previous managers, where we can't play the ball, we can't play it out from the back line with any consistency, we can't defend. It's so low, we're not pressing the ball. That ain't a tactic by Postecoglou going into that game, going, oh look, Dyer and Davies can't play this way, drop that line, don't press from the front. Absolute bollocks. That's the same individuals coming in and dictating. And the reason why I really always say they have to go, it's because they're leaders in that dressing room. They're leaders in that squad. They have been for years. And despite having the new leadership, we had no Romero, no Madison yesterday. Who do you think steps in and takes that void in that dressing room with such young players around them? The likes of a Dyer, the likes of a Davies. There's so many reasons why they have to go. But where are we at with that defensive line? I mean, why was it so deep yesterday? Was it a matter of we couldn't retain possession and every time Wolves got it, they just came at us, and like that second half they just bombarded us? What's the reason for it?
I just very quickly, I just think it's dictated by Dyer and Davies, because they're not quick enough, and we have to sit deep because they haven't got the pace to get back. So you start sitting deep. The midfield then starts sitting deep, and then your front line starts sitting deep. So it has a whole unit. You're deeper than you want to be, and I think that's the problem. They haven't got the pace. If we had centre backs with pace, you'd be playing more productive, more on the foot football. But we were playing yesterday. If as Soren said earlier, if Conte was on the touchline or Mourinho was on the touchline, and it rarely showed. Full well Andrew's doing his absolute bollocks on the touchline. He's going nuts. He's saying, get up the field. But they can't do it because they haven't got the pace. So they dictate. Every team starts, any good team dictates from your back line. If your back line is going to be up more forward, then your midfield and front line is going to be more forward. If they're sitting back, they're going to sit back with you, and then you play more defensive football, which we cannot play. We never could play a defensive type of football.
Would you say, Dermot, that I mean, I've sung Angie's praises all season, but you have to critique the guy when he gets something wrong.
Oh yeah,
you have to. And yesterday, I thought he made the wrong decision in playing Dyer yesterday.
Yeah,
because there was no pace in that back line whatsoever. And if he did tell them to play that high line, and they didn't choose to do that to suit their game, then we know that they aren't good enough for that back line. So
well, can we we'll pass this on to Soren as well. Soren, can we keep blaming the managers though? Keep asking questions because we done the same with Jose Mourinho. We've done the same with Conte. Now we're starting to do the same with Postecoglou. We know how this ends, right? But when it's certain individuals, and we haven't seen that this season, but when they come in, they do. At what point then do we stop blaming the manager, asking questions of the manager, and blame the players that he has to select from, that he actually didn't want to select from because he asked for them to be replaced this summer?
Well, exactly. And I think blaming Postecoglou is the easy way out. Let's just sort of look at something for a minute. Up until the Chelsea game, so before the Chelsea game, the players that were on the pitch were all defending from the front. Now, we can slate Richie as much as we want. He was running his ass off, chasing that ball down all the time. Son, always chasing the ball down all the time. Kulu, chasing the ball down. Then you've got in the centre, you've got Maddison running around. You had Bissouma playing well, and you had Papsar playing, chasing the ball down. All of a sudden, the last two games, forget the Chelsea one in a sense. So yesterday, you had Brennan Johnson, hardly ran about at all. You had Kulu, certainly wasn't on his best game, but he was one of the better players, I still think. Son was running around. Bissouma was
Son had a poor game yesterday.
Shocking yesterday. Hey?
Son had a poor game yesterday.
Yeah, no, he had a poor game.
I didn't sit.
He was chasing the ball still a lot, but he didn't do much actually with the ball. I agree, but he was still.
That's a given. That's a given in a professional footballer.
Yeah, but he was one of the only few players trying to chase the ball down. If you're not defending from the front, then that puts a lot more emphasis on the back. Now, it doesn't excuse the back four. I'm not putting any excuse in, but that's the difference now. Yesterday, we were not defending from the front. Our midfield was shocking. Bissouma, I don't know whether it was just that he was scared to get a yellow card or what. I don't know. But he was shocking yesterday. Papsar was certainly played out of position and didn't look anywhere near as good as what he is. I mean, he's a cracker.
I agree with you, Soren. Yeah. I agree with you. Blaming Postecoglou is the easy way out. I agree with you, and I 100%. Some for me yesterday ran around like a head.
Phil, what service did Son have yesterday? We can say he had a poor game, but there was nothing coming to it.
I saw him have the ball and lose it numerous times yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not saying, but I mean, again, that's probably his.
Sorry, I will say that on midfield yesterday we didn't have any creativity at all. All it was side to side, and taking Maddison out of that team, it dries the goals up for Son. Most of his goals this season have come from Maddison. Yeah. And we totally missed that yesterday.
So
and
the question
is, that's a massive worry. That's a massive worry with the games coming up because we haven't got anyone to feed Son in.
No.
So the question is, would you have started Lo Celso yesterday in that midfield?
I would have.
Quite possibly, yeah.
I would have done. I mean, I know a lot of people were asking for Kulu to play in the middle, but personally, I think yesterday was the perfect game to give Lo Celso that chance because he is probably, trying to ask Papsar to be the creative player, just don't know. I mean, that's probably where we do turn on Ange and say, I think he got that wrong. But on the other hand, was he just trying to make that midfield a bit stronger? But when you've got, what's happened to the Bissouma of them first 2 or 3 games when he was man of the match? He was standing and we were all sat there saying, we've got Bissouma back. This is the player. And then all of a sudden, the last 2 or 3 games, like I say, I don't know if it's because he's scared of getting that yellow.
Well, he's got it now.
Well, he has, yeah.
He's got it now.
So, as soon as he got it, for about 5 minutes afterwards, he suddenly started running again.
Yeah. Look, for me, look, I have to agree with Phil. I thought Son ran around like a headless chicken yesterday. He didn't. He was running around for the sake of running around. Yeah, you could have said he got no service, but he's the captain. He's the captain on that pitch. He should have turned around to them players at halftime or during the match and ordered people like a captain. Tell them to start playing up. If Dias made a mistake, bollock him. Do a captain's job. A captain on a football pitch. Look, I'll go back to the 80s. That 80s side of the Birkinshaw, there was captains. There was 4, 5, or 6 captains on that pitch. You had Graham Roberts, Steve Perriman, Paul Miller, Tony Galvin. You had Steve Archibald. None of them would be backwards and saying, right, if you made a mistake, I'm giving you a bollocking. Where's that now? Where, there should be players there bollocking Dyer. You made a mistake. Get your effing head in the game. Come on.
But a lot of leaders were out there yesterday, Dermot. That's what the big problem was. You have Romero, who looks after that back line. He wasn't there. So we didn't have that leader. You had Madison, who looks after that midfield. Yeah. You didn't have him there. Look,
but the Chelsea game, we saw that, we lost our heads. Who was it on the field that was trying to calm the situation down? As soon as Udogie went in for that challenge, it spiraled out of control. And I didn't see any one of our captains on the pitch, try and calm the situation down and keep us level-headed. Because for the first 20 minutes, I know we're going back to the Chelsea game, but for the first 20 minutes in that game, we absolutely dominated. But because of naivety and going in for stupid challenges like that, we played into Chelsea's hands.
But
and we didn't revert back to how we were playing in that first 20 minutes, and we just lost our heads.
Go on, Dave, go on. I do agree with that point. There does need to be someone that stands up, an experienced head, and says, look, calm down. I think the reason why we're losing our heads, though, is because we're not getting the fair rub of the green when it comes to decisions. For instance, Son yesterday, right? He was absolutely god-awful yesterday. I'm not going to praise him for the pressing work, because that's what you have to do without possession in this Postecoglou team. But every time the ball came to him, he lost it. He lost it, whether it was true giving away sloppy passes, this, that, and the other. But also, there's a couple of times the referee just ignored what Dawson was doing.
I know, Dave, but
Dawson choke-slammed him. Dawson stepped on his bollocks. No booking, nothing. That was worse than what Romero done Monday night.
Yeah, if we know that the referees aren't going to give us the rub of the green, throughout the game, we can't leave it to the referee to decide the game for us. We need to take the game by the scruff of the neck. That's our job, to see the game out, or to try and win the game. We can't rely on these referees this season. We know they ain't good enough. We know they're not good enough in this league. So we can't rely on referees. We have to play our game and get the result for ourselves.
Have you noticed, though, the 2 poorest games that Udogie's had where he's got booked and almost gone off is the twice when Brennan Johnson's played on the left with him. Because there's no help coming from that front. So it's all on him.
Yeah, sorry, go on, sorry.
I was going to say, if you watch when Richie plays, as much as we want to slate Richie, he's meant to be a striker, but when Richie plays, all of a sudden, Udogie's got that help. He's got that little bit of somebody coming and running around. But every time Brennan Johnson's played up front on the left with Udogie at the back, he's got booked and almost got sent off, and then got sent off. Now, I'm not blaming Brennan Johnson, but he doesn't help anything on the defending side. So,
do you know what? Jack pointed that out yesterday as well. Actually, you're spot on.
Yeah, look, for me, there was players in that midfield. Højbjerg should have been one took the game by the scruff of the neck. He's an experienced international player. You had players there that are experienced international players. Ben Davies should have commanded that back line. Should have turned around to Dyer, what the F are you doing? Get your head in the effing game. There was players. Okay, I grant you, Vicario is very vocal as a goalkeeper. He is very vocal as a goalkeeper, and it's a good thing he is. But you don't have to be a captain to be a captain on a pitch. Do you know what I mean? You still have a right to have your opinion, to say to the team, come on, we need to do better. This is why the 80s team was so successful, because there wasn't just one captain. You look at all the great successful teams, I don't care who you support, over the years, they've got more than one captain on that pitch. There's 6 or 7 captains. It's not just the man with the armband. It's the man that is all their experience. You look at Roy Keane, for us, Dave, in the Ireland side. If you played bad, he would nail you to the wall. You're not good enough. You need to do better. The players need to be scared. The players need to be afraid. We've got this too nice of a tag to
that
everyone.
Soft element is coming back for sure.
That soft element is coming back. And you are right. Romero does the back line. Madison does the midfield. We need somebody up front that's going to be vocal. That's why I was saying midfielder should be a captain. Because you can't do it from a striker and you can't do it from a goalkeeper. It's either a central defender or a midfielder.
I don't see Romero being that vocal guy in the back line for me. He's a leader by going in for challenges and trying to spice up the game and get players to give it their all kind of thing. But he's not. I don't know if he speaks English quite well in the team, but I don't think he's that vocal. I don't see it. But even with the likes of Dyer and Davies, they're not the type of players that communicate with the back line either. I think Van der Ven does that more than any of them.
Phil, Dermot absolutely nailed it on the head. You don't have to be the captain. It doesn't matter where the captain plays. Anybody can be that player shouting at the other players. So it doesn't matter whether it's your striker. It doesn't matter if it's your goalkeeper who is the club captain. Anybody in that team that has the passion for our club.
We don't have enough of them though. Sorry, we don't have enough of them in the team.
But the problem is, I mean, we say, well, Son should have given it. No, yes, I agree with that. But it's not just Son. Anybody that has the passion should have gone in that changing room and said, "What the effing hell are we doing? What are you all doing?" I don't get this mentality of saying, "Oh, you've got to be a captain." No. But the other thing that I wanted to quickly say is blaming the refs. That ref was pretty poor yesterday, but he was poor to both sides.
Yeah, he was.
You can't say he just, it was Wolves or he was Tottenham. He was letting a lot go that should have been pulled up.
He wasn't poor against Chelsea either. To be honest, I thought he had a good game against.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there was a decision against Chelsea that you would argue with, really, was there?
Look, there's plenty I'd argue with, to be honest with you. The Romero one, I don't think it's the right card.
Can I just say one thing? Sorry, Dave. Sorry, go ahead.
Just quickly on the refs. The reason why I'm blaming a lot of the refs is because when I look at the games, right, it's the 50-50 calls on the pitch. For instance, Basuma made one tackle there yesterday. Out comes the yellow card. Dawson stepped on Son's bollocks, no VAR check. He body slammed Son by the throat. No free kick given, play on. It's the 50-50 decisions during the game that the referees ain't giving us, but they're giving other clubs. For instance, I go back to Fulham. Paulinho made 4 challenges in the first half. No booking. Højbjerg made 1, straight away out with the yellow card. Edozie against Fulham. Got fouled 3-4 times, nothing given. Referee looking, staring straight at it. Edozie makes 1 tackle, out with the yellow card. And it's them little things that are going against us. And that's why I do blame the referees, because I feel like ever since that Liverpool game, a lot of the 50-50 decisions are going against us.
Yeah, the thing is with that, Dave, that you look at it and I don't know. I think whenever you support a club, you always think the refs do more to the other team. Now, the instance with Sonny, I'm pretty sure there was a VAR check on that one, but they deemed it as not intentional. Now, I don't think there's a Tottenham fan out there that wouldn't say it looked intentional, and I don't think there's a Wolves fan out there that would probably say it was definitely intentional. So it's hard. Now, there were some decisions yesterday where I thought, oh, we were lucky to get that, or they were lucky to get that. And then there was other decisions where you look at it and think, we were lucky that, oh, can't believe he didn't give that. Now, the Edozie ones, I mean, he was lucky to still be on the pitch when he got sent off. I mean, that was a horrible tackle. There's been tackles against us that you think, how the hell have they not been sent off? I think the biggest problem with it all is, with referees now, is VAR. VAR is the problem. The referees have lost the bollocks because they don't make a decision now because it's going to probably get overturned or they're going to look stupid. They haven't got the authority anymore. You go back to when they did have the authority, all we did was moan about the referees back then. So the referees are actually in the worst position now. I don't know what the answer is, whether you do everything, but VAR is not working. It has
AI.
It has destroyed the game of football.
Yeah.
I think it has destroyed the game by breaking up the play and it not being, fluid.
Yeah.
And it sort of like slows the game down. And I fully believe that injuries. I think injuries play a big part in that as well. When we're waiting for so long for a decision to be made, but I'm the other way. I think VAR is okay in certain aspects of the game in getting decisions right, but it's the referees that are the problem that are making the decisions for me.
Yeah.
Well, look,
yeah,
we'll definitely have to have the two of you back on another day with me for a debate about the use of technology and VR in football and stuff like that. But I do want to take these two comments, one from Peter M and one from Steve D. They're sort of similar, but they're different, and I just want to bring them up and see what people make. But Dermo, do you need to go?
I do go in about 5 minutes. I just wanted to make one quick ad about the captains and quickly about VAR. The captain thing. Look, I'm a big nerd for 70s and 80s football. I love watching the old games. I love watching back in the day. Don't know why. I can sit for hours and watch 70s and 80s football. Love it. And I was watching one game, and I think it was the great Liverpool side of the 80s. They had a really bad game. Graham Souness was captain. He went into that dressing room, and all of them had an argument between themselves. And they got to the root problem. The players that weren't playing were quickly moved on. And they brought in youngsters, and they clicked on, and they went to win whatever they won. With VAR, I agree with Phil. VAR is a good system, but it's not perfected yet. They've got to go with the offside with the chip and the ball. That is a given. And they should be only used for goal line technology or a serious challenge. The referees are hiding behind this VAR. That should have been a free kick for Sonny yesterday when he stepped on his bollocks. No question whatsoever. The referee have lost their nerves.
But this is where I question why VAR don't intervene on that.
Yeah.
Well, it's clear what he's done. Why aren't VAR getting involved? They get involved in everything we do.
Yeah.
They did get involved. That's the thing, and they deemed
I don't think there was a check, Soren. I don't think there was a check.
Said, well, the thing I was watching certainly said VAR was looking, but it was one of those where they said they were looking and to see whether it was intentional, and it was deemed not intentional. But if you watch these, I don't think it. I think what they were looking at was the foot at the end. It was the knee that did the damage to me when he came down on him. The foot certainly was hanging about there, but there wasn't a push of the leg, if you get what I mean. It was there and it was straight, which obviously isn't a good thing. I'm not saying that it wasn't a foul. What I'm saying is there wasn't a kick towards it. It was the knee, and then the leg was left in. And I think the reason VAR can't change the decision on that one is because it's not a red card offence.
Look, I'll be honest. I think that's worse than what Romero done. At least Romero went to try and clear the ball. But
yeah.
Look, that's the VAR didn't decide that game yesterday, so I don't want to get stuck into the whole VAR thing.
I do need to pop off though, Dave. Sorry.
Dermo, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, my man.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you like what I've got to say, you can find me where I am. You know where I am.
Oh, no, we don't.
No, I know you don't. No, nobody else does either.
I'll get your link and all in there for you, Tran.
Well, I'm doing a watch along for the Chelsea Man City game this afternoon because I thought we'd be tied, and I thought we could do that, and I thought we could sit there and just shout abuse at Man City and Chelsea, which I'm still going to do. I'm going to have great fun of taking abuse out of Pochettino, calling him a loser, because that's what he is.
Hopefully it ends in a draw.
Hopefully, it probably will be a 0-0 draw. This is a new thing me and Philip are doing. We're doing the 4:30 kickoff every Sunday Premier League soccer watch along. So that's what we're going to do. But thanks for having me on, Dave. Soren, it's always great with you, and also you, Phil. Absolutely, always genuinely great for you. And Dave, thanks a lot. And don't worry, folks, we'll be back. Tottenham will become stronger. We're at the end of the tunnel. We're building it reincarnated. Come on, you Spurs.
We are. Come on,
the title is ours.
See you later, my man.
See you later,
everyone. I am going to put Dermot's link in below if you want to get over there and follow him. He's a great character, a really good man. So get over and check that out. Guys, I want to take these two comments, one from Phil and one from Peter, one from Steve D. Peter says, what lost us that game was scoring only one goal and not creating more attacking chances that are on target. Now, I agree with that. There's an element to it, but I also have a counter to it. And then Steve D says, the overreaction is a simple result of people's unrealistic expectations. Not sure why people are so surprised with 4 first-team players out. Too easy to blame usual suspects. Midfield was absent, which I agree with to a certain extent, but also have a counter argument to it. But I want to know what you guys think, because I think, Soren, I've seen you, maybe point this message out from Peter. I think you liked it.
It's an obvious thing, though, isn't it? We only scored 1, they scored 2. That's why we lost the game. But that was, if you watched it, that was the only attack where we looked like we was playing handball. That was the only time in the match, to me, that represented what Ange Postecoglou wants us to play. Now, you don't know. It was almost as if it was like a Conte game. This is where I referred to earlier, where we've gone 1-0 up, so we're going to defend that lead. And we just weren't good enough. Now, you can't defend and only expect the back 4 to defend. The whole team were at fault yesterday with that loss. And you can't, if you looked at it on paper, yes, that was a weakened team from us. I know it was. But it was certainly enough in there to have put up more of a fight. I mean, it was basically, it's like lighting a firework and you're all expecting this great big bang and it just goes pop. And that's what the team did. And you do look at it sometimes and think we scored too early. Had we not scored till, say, 20 minutes, we might have looked a bit better and built that momentum up. But, the other thing is, we had the spine of our team lost. We've lost our 2 central defenders. We've lost our creative player. And we've lost our left-sided player. And as much as anybody wants to argue, we've lost virtually half of our team, because you've got Perisic out, you've got Richie out, you've got Solomon out. That's all the left-hand side players. It's decimated. And I just think we've got to look at yesterday and possibly the next 2 or 3 games and just literally write it off. And I'll tell you what, after those 2 or 3 games, if they'd have come at different stages and we'd have won one, lost one, won one, lost one, we won't be sat here now saying it's a disaster. We'd all be just saying, well, this is where we expected us to be. The problem is with we've kind of overachieved with the games we've done. 10 games unbeaten in the league. All of a sudden we've lost 2. We lost 2. We lost Chelsea because of circumstances that were out of our control, in the sense of, 2 of our defenders have gone off, our creative players gone, and our left-hand has gone. What did we expect against Chelsea? No team other than maybe Man City could lose the best 4 players on the pitch and expect to come out of it with anything. Yesterday, I mean, yesterday was just one of those games where it had to happen at some point. It had to happen. And the problem was, if we'd have had our first 11 on the pitch, that wouldn't have happened.
Do you know what? I completely agree with that. But, with what Peter M is saying here, I think this is similar arguments to what we were making last season when we had Dyer and Davies in the back line. That's the forwards. They're not scoring enough goals. I was told Harry Kane was the problem. Since he's gone, we're still scoring goals. But the biggest difference for me is we ain't keeping them out. We have Romero Van de Ven at centre-back. We see that game out. We win that 1-0. The reason why we've got over the line a lot of times this season is because of that defence. Is because they've been keeping clean sheets. When that's not there, we're going back to where we were last season, and we can't keep blaming the attackers. Scoring goals in football, putting the ball in the back of the net is the hardest thing to do in football, without a shadow of doubt. The hardest thing to do. You can't keep expecting your players to score 2, 3 goals every single game. At some point, 1 goal has to be enough. Great teams, title-winning teams, when the game's in the balance, to see that game out, they go and win it 1-0. I'm not excusing the front players. Johnson was fucking awful yesterday. Son, awful yesterday. Kulu, I thought, was our best attacker. At least he tried, but lacked in the final ball quite a lot. But we have to expect the forwards are going to have off periods. That's where you need the back line. And for me, again, that's why I hark back to the back line, because although we weren't playing our best, we still scored a goal, but we couldn't keep them out. And Sir Alex Ferguson, one of the greatest managers to ever grace the game, goals wins you games, defense wins you leagues. And that's why I'm refusing to really have a go at the attacking players for this. Yes, they could have been better. Yes, they could have created more. But at the end of the day, we still scored one goal, and the defense didn't come to the party. They pissed me off.
Yeah, I just want to. Sorry. I was just going to say that with this comment, I agree. I agree 100% with it. With Maddison being out, we don't have that player. I don't know if Lo Celso can be that. I'm not 100% convinced with that. But with Maddison out, you will see. I fully believe that some Suns goals dry up if we haven't got a Maddison in that team, because we haven't got anyone feeding him the balls through. We haven't got that type of player, so I don't know. I'm worried about that aspect of our play.
The thing is, when we look at the way Ange Postecoglou wants to play a game, is it? And this is a question to you then, Dave. Is it easier to play in one half or both halves? Now, if we play in their half and it's congested, we've got more chance. This is where it comes back to having Van der Ven and Romero on, because you've got the pace. So if you're pushing everything up and you've got 10 of your players in their half, you're going to create more chances, or you're going to have more of the ball. Whereas if you're playing over the full pitch, there's more chance of them getting the ball back because you're having to play all over the place. Now, that's the problem.
Spot on, sir. Just to add to that quickly, but it also is a massive reason why they were able to find out balls yesterday, whereas in games gone by, they weren't. They were having to go long ball because them options weren't there. But when we're spread out, it allows them to play through us like they did yesterday.
Yeah. 100%.
If you look, Dawson was playing from the right, chucking that ball over to our left-hand side because that was our weakest side, because we had Porro playing in the wrong position and nobody helping him, as in Johnson, up front. That was the problem. Now, the defence is shockingly slow. That's the problem. So they obviously played back, which we've already gone over. But again, if you don't defend from the front, you're going to concede goals.
Yeah. Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. And that was one of the biggest things I noticed yesterday. As bad as we were in possession, out of possession, we did not look the same or do anything with the same intensity than what we have done before. And I think, again, it comes back to so many changes, because before it's a synchronized press. Like you alluded to, Son went, Richarlison went, Maddison went, Adoji went. If the ball was on the left, everyone on that left-hand side went, which meant there was no out ball. Yesterday, if Son went, Johnson was a few minutes late, the midfield were a few minutes late, and all it done was defence into midfield, into the front line, and they're at us.
The press wasn't as effective, was it? The press wasn't as effective.
It actually caused us more problems when we went and done the press yesterday.
It did, yeah.
It gave them space to play in.
I mean, if you look at Peter's comment there, where he says, the lack of goals was because our defence was so slow getting. How often have we seen Romero on the edge of their box, running up and being part of the play? How often have we seen Van der Ven do that? Did we see Dyer? I mean, the problem with Dyer was he couldn't get back to defend because he was so slow. And that's where, we kind of played like that. I know it wasn't 4-4-2, but 4-5-2, where it was three separate lines where we didn't play as a team yesterday. I think that's the biggest difference, that the previous games up to Chelsea and the first half of Chelsea, we were playing as a team. We defended and we attacked as a team. Yesterday, we had attackers and we had defenders and we had a midfield. And there was no cohesion, and that was the problem.
Absolutely spot on. I think that's the biggest takeaway. There was no team yesterday. It was like the new element and the old element, and they couldn't quite gel. But Steve D does also say the overreaction is a simple result of people's unrealistic expectations. Not sure why people are so surprised with 4 first-team players out. Too easy to blame usual suspects. Midfield was absence. Look, I'm not getting into this debate of, we're winning the league compared to people that say we aren't, because realistically, when you win, you know, the other side, you know, fucking go mad. And then when you lose, the other side go, and the people that believe you can win the league. At the end of the day, you got to accept. You're going to have fans that believe, and you're going to have fans that look at the, you know, that don't believe. That's it. I'm not getting into that debate where we're going to blame one side or the other. You're a fan of the club. You pay your way to support this club. Support the club how you see fit. That's where I'm on that. So I'm not getting into that argument, you know. Fans that believe we can win the league ain't the problem, and fans that believe we can't win the league ain't the problem. That's not the problem here. So let's not get into that. Let's cut that out straight away. Look, when it comes to too easy to blame the usual suspects, I'm going to get onto midfield because I agree with you on this, Steve D. The midfield was piss poor yesterday. But it's hard not to blame the usual suspects because a lot of them other players that played with the better players that were out suspended and injured, we've seen an absolute phenomenal 10 weeks. Great performances, good fluid football, attacking football that we enjoyed. When usual suspects come in, the reason why they're on the periphery in the first place is because they can't play this way. They can't do it at the intensity, at the speed that it needs to be done at. They cannot play this way. So when they come in, you have that knockoff on effect. And the reason why I blame them is because Ange Postecoglou wanted some of them out here in the summer. He didn't stand in their pathway saying, I want to keep them. So when they come in, it's hard not to blame them when, you know, it was looking so well until they came in. But let's get on to the midfield because I'll be honest, I was really pissed off with Basuma yesterday. I thought out of possession didn't do a lot. And in possession, I actually thought without Maddison, he's the guy you're looking at in that midfield between him, Sarr, and Højbjerg to make things happen. And all I've seen from him, especially, and this really annoyed me, I think we were 1-0 up. We had the ball down in their corner near the end of the half. And rather than try and be ruthless and go and get that second goal, which every Spurs fan knew we needed at that point, we were never going to see out the 1-0 lead with that back line. They're pissing about in the corner with the ball, thinking they've already won the game, getting ahead of themselves. And that really pissed me off. Then you go to Papa Matsar. Look, that kid tried. He tried his bloody heart out yesterday. When it came to Højbjerg, really pissed off. He's done well in Basuma's absence. But again, yesterday, he went back to the same sort of Højbjerg, you know, not the same sort of Højbjerg, but we've seen the worst side of Højbjerg again, the erraticness, you know, not doing anything with any sort of confidence or conviction, which then has given away the ball poorly. Look, I thought that midfield was very poor yesterday. And that's another reason why we didn't win the game, because usually we control that midfield because we control the possession. But yesterday we didn't have that. Guys, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'll just quickly go on this. I've got 1%, Dave. So if I do go off, then that's
well,
the reason
we're going
why.
To wrap it up shortly anyway. I'm sure people have Sunday dinners they want to get
to.
But
if I go midway through talking about this, then yeah, big up to you guys, and big up everyone in the chat.
Back on again. I enjoyed your
man. Yeah. So with the midfield, with the midfield, it was just stale for me. Like I said before, the creativity, there was no creativity in the midfield. There was no one to take on a man. Basuma like usually travels with the ball well and does that side of the game, but we didn't see that from him yesterday. I don't know if he was holding back because of the yellow card, but it just seemed side to side for me. There was no cohesion. There was no the work rate wasn't even there for me either to win the midfield battle. And it is worrying. I think Basuma's out in the next game. So I mean, who do you play in that midfield now? For me, you have to play Lo Celso because I think he gives you a little bit of creativity here and there. So he might be able to, pull something out of the bag and feed Sonny through for a goal. But hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think we need some creativity in there with Lo Celso. Yeah, that's what we need going forward.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Sorry, where are you at with it? Do you agree that maybe Lo Celso has to come in for Basuma? What went wrong with that midfield yesterday?
I think we've said it, as Phil just said it again there, that whether it was Basuma was scared of getting that yellow, but he was never going to go long enough to not get the yellow card. So to me, holding back and not getting that yellow card either affected his game, if that's what was wrong with him, which I think was worse than just going and getting the yellow card. Just play your game. You know, let's not worry. If you get your yellow card, it's one game you're going to miss. I would have rather him missed yesterday and got his yellow card before than not play and put the rest of the team at fault. Now, look, they're in the midfield. Perhaps I don't think I can say anything bad against him because he's a young lad and he's probably the only one of those three midfielders that could walk off that pitch with his head up there and say, at least I tried. But I'm gonna, I'm not just gonna say it was Bissouma because Bissouma was shit. Højbjerg was shit. Yeah. And Emerson Royal, which was another midfielder in the sense of it because he tucks in, was shit. So you've got 3 players there out of 5, because I think Porro wasn't too bad. So you've got 3 out of the 5 that were crap. So, I don't think there's anything I really want to say about our midfield other than they were shit. Full stop. There isn't a player on there other than Papsar and Porro probably that could walk off there and say, at least I tried.
Do you know what? I agree. Like, this is why I found it such a hard one to sort of analyze yesterday because, everyone was shit yesterday. Absolutely everybody. But me, I know people are going to say, Dave, you have an agenda. But I think a lot of the problems did stem from that back line because even the way we play, right? The centre-backs are so crucial in the way we play. You got Romero, you've got Van de Ven, who they're good at passing the ball, right? They can play these intricate passes, but if it's not on, they can run with it. But they also have good passes. You've seen Romero a few times lump them over the top to people running onto it. But King Huddle says here, the midfield failed. I am not falling for the narrative that the defense is too entirely in blame for that. Bassoon was poor. Sarr couldn't get in the game. Madison makes it tick. Now, I agree with King Huddle to a certain extent that with Madison, right, when he's out there, sorry, if the ball ain't coming his way, he will drop deep to get on that ball because he wants it. Yesterday, I don't think any of them midfielders really wanted that ball, really wanted it in possession. But also, at times, it was so slow coming back. Wolves just pressed up man for man, and we had no options to play into.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those that, that comment is spot on, but Neil in the comments also says it was 90 plus 1 and 90 plus 7. The argument against that is they could have scored almost at any point had they been better players. Now, we're sitting here and saying Davies was the man of the match because he was throwing his body in front of balls and that. Now, had it not been for Davies, they could have scored a hell of a lot earlier. It wasn't a case of, well, it took till 90, 91 minutes and 97 minutes. Any Tottenham fan watching that game yesterday could not honestly say they didn't see a goal coming. You were just waiting for it to happen. And look, the problem with saying statements like, well, it was 90 plus 1 and 97 minutes. Yeah, we've won games like that, but the game doesn't end until the whistle goes. Yeah. So it doesn't matter whether it's scored in the 97th minute or the 3rd minute like we did. The point was we lost 2-1. And we lost 2-1 because we weren't good enough. Now, I think if you look at the stats, I'm not sure what the final stats were. It maybe does say we had more possession, but I tell you what, we didn't do anything with it. There was nothing. I think if you actually counted them up, I bet we did more back passes than we did forward passes.
Yeah.
We were shocking. There is no defense about it. Now, Wolves, we made Wolves look good. That's the thing. Yeah. We made Wolves look good. Now, had we had our 11 players on there, I don't think we would have won comfortably. So they won 2-1. It doesn't matter when they scored the goals. We made them look good, and we were shocking. Full stop.
That's the biggest killer, that we made them look good. You're absolutely spot on. We made them look good. Everything about our game, and that's what that's one thing I said going into the game. I said, Soren, if we can implement our game plan on Wolves, we will get away with this. If we fail, it'll be a bad day at the office. And we simply failed to implement our game plan on them. And you're right, we made them look good. But this maybe brings me on to my last sort of question then, Soren. Postecoglou sort of alludes that maybe we ran out of legs. And look, you can see the element to that because some of them players, played against Chelsea, 9 men, expelled a lot of energy. I think a little bit different. I think we just didn't hold our nerve. I think we lost our bottle. And I think it's synonymous of seasons gone by with some of that old mentality that we've seen. Let's not forget, under Jose Mourinho, there were games we were winning up until 89, 90 minutes. And Eric Dyer or Davies or someone like that make a mistake and cost us points. My point is, it's not the first time I've seen it with these guys. It's a repetitive team. If I had a euro for every time someone said to me, I'd have played well for 89 minutes, I'd be a millionaire. Like you said, Soren, the game goes to the final whistle. And for me, because I've seen it time and time again with these guys, I don't think we ran out of legs. I think we lost our bottle. I think we lost our nerve. Where are you at with it?
I fully agree with you. I mean, I get the feeling with Ange Postecoglou, he's not one that's going to just blame it on the players. He's going to kind of look for an excuse to say, well, we run out of legs or we did this. Now, if we ran out of legs, why was Sonny, who's supposedly still injured, running around like a blue-ass fly till the last minute? Why was Kulu running around like a blue-ass fly? Why was Porro running around like a blue-ass fly? The players that weren't running around trying to defend was Emerson Royale, was Højbjerg, was Bissouma, obviously Bissouma had gone off, was Eric Dyer. Davies was still running around. Now, we're playing one match a week. We played last Monday, we played on Saturday. If that's not enough time, and half these players haven't even played all season, so, I mean, yeah, that maybe doesn't help, and I get that, but, to come out and say we ran out of legs, no, we didn't. We just weren't good enough. We were the second best team in a 2-horse race. Full stop. Now, that second goal that Wolves scored was a bloody good goal. It was worked well. They did what Chelsea did to us in the last 5 to 10 minutes. They worked us out. They worked out what to do. And like I say, most of that match, it wouldn't have surprised me if Wolves had scored at any point of that match after the first 15 minutes. So, look, I'm not going to take it that we ran out of legs. We just weren't good enough. That's the only thing to say. We weren't good enough.
No, look, I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. I don't buy, like you said, after these guys, some of these guys haven't even, barely, like Dyer, for instance, barely played a minute for Tottenham apart from Monday night. There's no way he's tired. No way he ran out of legs.
Running, did it?
Impossible. It's impossible.
I mean, he didn't do much running during the game, so how could he be tired?
Exactly.
And, I mean, the one thing, I will say one thing that one of the players did show. I think Brennan Johnson went down at one point with cramp, didn't he? So that's kind of showed that he...
I found it hard to make that out, whether he pulled something in his calf or whether it was cramp.
I think he if I remember right, the commentary said he got back up and it looked like it was cramp. So, which obviously, he hasn't played much, but when you've got a player, but then again, I mean, how can we say we're tired when we've only played Monday to Saturday? I mean, if them players are tired from that, then I'm sorry. If you've got Son up front who's still injured, running around like he was, maybe had a crap game, but he was still running. He was still trying to do something. Then, we've lost hope because we're never going to win anything. We weren't tired against Liverpool, were we? When we scored in the last, goal, obviously. But yeah, I mean, we weren't tired against Chelsea when we were playing with 9 men still trying to chase the game. Yeah. So, how can we be tired yesterday? So that is a load of crap.
I completely agree. I think some of these guys need to be put on a building site from Monday to Saturday and then see what tired is. I'm pretty sure it won't be long about getting back out there and focusing on the job in hand. But Soren, this is it, my man. It's been absolutely brilliant to have you on. I really enjoyed your contribution, along with Phil. Great contribution. Great to have him back on, and Dermot as well. But Soren, it's been good, my man. Thank you very much for the therapy today.
Enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. And look, let's put these 2 games behind us. We've got another game coming up. We're going to play Villa, then we're going to play City. the season's early. Let's not give up on it yet. You know, it's gonna be it's gonna be a roller coaster of a season. There's gonna be some ups and there's gonna be some downs. Let's just ride it and let's just enjoy the journey. Let's give it a chance.
Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. Look, I know it's been a tough week, right? We all wanted that pick me up yesterday. It didn't happen. But these 2 games in isolation, they don't define us. They don't define our season. It's how we pick ourselves up from here now and look to move on. So, look, let's just keep fighting, keep battling away, and see where it takes us come January. But everybody, I want to say a massive thank you to you guys out there for tuning in as well. Really do appreciate it. And also appreciate Paul Markey for the support as well, my man. Absolute top man. But look, that's it from us. I'll be back here tomorrow with a fan show for you guys and stuff like that. So we'll see you all then. As always, come on, you Spurs. In the mighty Ange Postecoglou we trust. We never stop.